2, 1. Welcome back to the Robaer Report. It's been a few weeks since I saw you all. Welcome back to the show. Sorry, I have my phone in the background. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut the sound off so y'all won't hear what I'm getting called. Be texting. Y'all don't need to worry about what I got going on over here. But once again, I'm back. It's been a couple weeks I've been out. I did some reruns and been doing some other tasks. And today I am excited, well, one, to be back with you all at the Robaer Report, where we talk with individuals and we discuss with them their contribution to society. So without further ado, I want to say I'll introduce my good friend, although I never met the brother and just talked to him yesterday. But he knows we good friends, right? So he knows my one of my best friends from college is married to
my best friend from high school.
Best friend from high school, right? So it's right. We got a best friend. So yeah, we talked yesterday. He was telling me about some of the programs that he has going on, but more than that, more than just a program, he talking about a alternative mind shift in regard to. Hold on, wait. I was gonna put up the phone number first. That ain't gonna make sense. In regards to, well, let me say this. This stream right here is meant to be helpful and not hurtful to anybody. So topics may be alternative to what you've ever thought about in regards to this topic, which is, as you all see, National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. I'm putting the phone number on there. The discussion today is not just about suicide or suicide prevention. Our discussion today is to talk with an individual and discuss their contribution to society. And in my opinion, Brother Darrik Bleux has definitely, he definitely has a contribution to society. All right. National Suicide Prevention Hotline. He has, I was wild yesterday. We talked. I took 18 pages of notes in a 2-hour conversation. My ink pen ran out of ink. That's why I stopped. Couldn't find no other ink pen. So just telling you what kind of brother we have on the stream today. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you all Mr. Darrik Bleux. How you doing today, sir?
How y'all doing? Thanks for having me.
Oh man, we are so welcome that you decided to grace us with your presence. My name is Robaer. This is Darrik. Y'all didn't know. I call him man Mr. Blue. We respect the names. Y'all call me Robaer though, but call him Mr. Blue. That's what we're gonna do.
I'll take it.
Yeah, right. So, Mr. Blue, man, tell us about your day. How's your day been going? What's been going on in your world? You know, you woke up today. I mean, because we're talking, so you had to wake up.
Right. That part taken care of.
Scratch that off as soon as you wake.
Right.
Well, my ink pen on.
Another one.
Another one.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So what's been going on today, man?
No, it's been a good day. I've been at the computer all day. Mondays are normally my admin day, so I've just been catching up on all the stuff I've been procrastinating over the weekend. So it's just been one of them kind of days. Yeah. How about you? How's your day?
The day was good, man. I went out. It was 106 degrees in Washington, D.C. today, but I toughed it out and went outside. Yeah, I see my shirt. I'm matching my shirt. Forget the beard, facing shirt matching. This Mississippi heat out here. So, man, let's get into it, man. We've been over here having a good time just talking. We had a real good time on yesterday. Mr. Blue has a program that is an alternative to suicide. All right. The suicide prevention phone number up here. An alternative to, in my opinion, to certain forms of mental health, which all of that is important. Now, I'm not negating or building up anybody. I'm talking about a contribution to society. He uses the medium of theater to assist people who may have an interest in suicide, although you may not have an interest in suicide, but you can follow along with follow his lead and learn more about the various options that are available that are not suicide. So I want to leave it in the hands of Mr. Blue right now. I asked him some questions the other day. What is your role in talking to people about suicide? What makes you an authority where people should listen to you? If I can ask that question.
Big question. So I hate the word authority. So I don't know if that's the word, but I think that I think where my experience meets expertise in the area. I am right now a QPR trainer for Health and Human Services, and the QPR Institute has certified me to do suicide prevention skill trainings. So some of my formal training in this area comes from there, along with I have about a 16-year-long background working in social services and different mental health services, working with youth in different populations, where I've worked a lot in the area of mental health and addressing this issue of suicide and suicide prevention a lot throughout my career. And then I'm also a person of lived experience. So a lot of what I teach in the space are practices that I've developed and been taught and have practiced in my own healing and in my own journey, and things that I pass along, that things that I found have worked for me, including arts and the theater.
Okay, gotcha. So thank you for the introduction. You have a program, Agency 515. Is that correct?
Yes, shout out.
Gotcha. So a part of I don't know if it's the nickname that you have for Agency 515, but he's called it the set. What is the set?
So Agency 515 is yeah, it's the Social Education Theater is our acronym, or the SET for short, and that is where we focus our art. So we do a lot of work around social education and emotional development using theater arts, playwriting, poetry, acting, singing, music, dance, or really opening up pathways for creativity in general. And we use that for the purposes of learning life skills, healing, life affirmation is where we do that at Agency 515.
Okay. How long has Agency 515 been around?
We've been around for a few years. So I started this work in 2015 with a collective that I founded called the Social Workers, SOUL, you say it was soul. So we started doing that work about 5 years ago. 7 years now. In 2015 is when that collective founded, and we worked a few years before formally getting our 501c3. So we've been in this work about a solid 7 years now, trying to find different creative pathways to offer healing and liberation to specifically young people, but also the communities that support them. Okay,
gotcha. All right, so you gave us a little bit of background on the foundation of Agency 515. What are some of the types of assistance programs that Agency 515 offer to the various communities that you serve?
Yeah, so the core of our work is mental health education and suicide prevention specifically. And we approach prevention through life affirmation using art. And art in our space is an acronym for attitudes, awareness, and relationship transformation. So we offer a bunch of different youth programs and services to the community. And we also put on we produce a lot of events and productions and performances that are meant to raise dialogue and help educate people about how to transform their attitudes and ideas and build more supporting and healing relationships around the issue of suicide and develop collective ways of prevention.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. And excuse me. Um, so you mentioned that the populations that you serve.
Mm-hmm.
Could you define for us who are your clients and what demographics that you all specifically work in?
Yeah, so I'm honored to work in the service of young people. So I typically work with youth in the ranges of 12 to 24 years old. Are typically where our programs are tailored to. But outside of our specific youth programs, we do a lot of consulting work and a lot of community-based work with adults and educators, and also family members to also help them build the skills on how to support the youth once they're out of our rooms and back in the communities they belong to. So yeah, we're kind of an expansive group, but the core of our work is meant and intended for young people.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So you're focusing on young people, ages, 12 to, well, let's say middle school to right
Middle
out.
school, early college, yeah,
Okay.
middle school, early college age, yeah. They're called a transition age youth, so that
Okay.
that fall in that bridge point between youth and adulthood, so that that kind of you're almost grown, but you ain't really grown yet age
You're right.
where we specialize.
Yeah, right. Okay. Okay. Y'all got a that's a group right there. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's a lot. That's a lot going on because you got different mindsets. The brain is developing, bodies are developing,
A whole
thoughts.
lot of things.
Then you got so when I grew up in Mississippi, so you had your middle school was 7th and 8th grade, then your high school was 9, 10, 11, and 12. So you got to go. So you have a transition from 6th to 7th grade. Then you got a year to get ready prepare for that. Then you got to transition from 8th to 9th grade. So once you're in the 9th grade, you move forward. But I know going from 6th to 8th grade, man, to 9th, 10th grade really was a very trying time period. Absolutely. For all of us in my age bracket. And so, we were learning and and then from 9th grade to 12th grade is an entirely different experience. Absolutely.
And then you got that whole 18 to 21 period where you're getting right out of high school into college, which is an entirely different world in itself. So we have them bridge points. So we're really passionate about getting in those gaps because we forget sometimes how challenging transitions can be, right? And coming of age periods, all of the things that we have to adapt and learn to and survive really quickly in a short amount of time when we're expected to grow up during those times.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. And so I was asking those questions particularly to lead up into your work around theater. So you're with 12-year-old, 24. I assume that is males and females that you're working with. You're right. You're working with. Okay, gotcha. So you have that large age group and on the stage. How do you all manage that with regard to directing people from those different ages, make a quality production, heal people in the area of suicide and suicide prevention?
Yeah, so a lot of our work is about the power and the art of telling story, and there are a million, and probably even more ways to do that, and which is why I think theater is a great container and a great pathway for folks to find creativity, however that shows up in them, and we really love facilitating that. So we do a lot of different things from like improv and character building, giving folks a chance to do different things around that. We have a lot of just kind of the traditional theatrical production process to get the script, you learn it, rehearse it, and then produce it for a performance. So there's a journey that we take folks on in learning how to do that. But a lot of our work and our initial approaches start literary. So it's really giving folks an opportunity to learn how to write and figure out how to tell their story and how to utilize their voice and what it is that they want to communicate and express to the world. And that's kind of my favorite piece of it. So we get an opportunity to do theater in its traditional sense. Kind of when a lot of people think about theater, the first thing that comes up for them is, like a building with the stage and a bunch of seats where people sit and watch a show, which is one way to do it, and a really great way to do it. But theater comes in all kinds of forms. So we do theater in the streets and in parking lots and parks and in classrooms and different places, that give folks, anywhere that we can build, that gives folks an opportunity to examine themselves and examine life and to create and share a story together, can be a theater.
Okay, gotcha. So you mentioned this word containers are, from what I got, these spaces such as the street, such as a classroom. Would that be defined as a container?
Yeah. So container, in the sense that we use it, speaks to anything that is holding a process, right? So containers, like by definition, are meant to hold something or transport it. So like a classroom becomes a container for learning, and like a building becomes a container for theater. And so in our work, we utilize that word a lot because, especially when it comes to talking about mental health or suicide prevention specifically, we're always looking at containers and causes, right? Examining what's holding an issue, what's holding a story, and how do we, what can we build that can transport that thing.
Okay, I gotcha. Okay. So you mentioned the topic of suicide prevention. In your opinion, if you had to come up with a personal definition of suicide, I know the dictionary has a definition of suicide, and every individual probably has their own definition. Is there a definition that you would like to provide to the world? I'm asking these questions because you got a very unique perspective on things. So I'm asking you as the person who has the experience because you're working in this field.
Yeah.
So how would you define a concept such as suicide?
Well, I think like when we're in the literal term, right, suicide speaks to any method of self-injury that results in intentional death, right? And so at the very base literal term, where we're talking about self-injurious death, whenever we're talking about suicide, and which is different than suicide prevention, right? Suicide would be the act, and prevention would be an approach or a pathway to preventing an intervention, if you will. And so for me, the intervention space is where I like to get creative, because I think that when you have an issue like suicide, which is a super expansive and adaptive issue, meaning that it is complex and layered, and that there isn't one singular cause that results in this thing, rather than a sort of an amalgamation of a lot of things, a lot of a million little moments, a buildup or so, that can inform the story. And so we, in a prevention space, like to get creative about identifying all of the opportunities to get in there and to support someone and to offer hope, and figure out what are the ways and the indicators and the ways in which people are trying to communicate that they are in pain and in need of support, and how we as a community can show up for them in those moments.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, and so when we talked about suicide, one of the things that we both kind of agreed on was that suicide is not the problem,
right?
But suicide is a solution to a perceivably unsolvable problem. Yeah, I got a degree and all, but you know what I'm saying. I'm still Mississippi man. I get a little tongue tied. That brother right here, smart. He threw a 40 syllable phrase at me. So let me start off. I've been practicing all night, y'all. I'm telling you, man. So let me do this one more time. So suicide is not the problem, but it is a solution to a perceivably unsolvable problem.
Right.
All right. So I want to try to just unpack it a little bit. Unsolvable problem. So suicide is a solvable problem, and then it can be an unsolvable problem. All right.
Yeah. So suicide in itself is preventable, right? And I think a lot of times when we talk about suicide or when we hear stories or have experiences with someone who's been affected by this issue, we focus on the act itself, right? We focus on the whatever they did or whatever reason it is that resulted in them no longer being here. And yes, while the act itself is a part of the story, the actual problem in itself is all the things that lead up to the decision, right? And a lot of times we understand that people make the decision to complete suicide because they've reached a period of hopelessness. They've reached a point where they've run out of solutions to whatever it is that they are dealing with, and then suicide then becomes the solution in that case. So whenever I hear a story of a suicide loss, my first thought is what happened along the way. How did we get here, right? What is the container that is holding this story? And I believe, we believe at Agency 515, that every single suicide can be traced back to a relational disconnect, right? There was some point along that journey, some point in their experience where a person identified themselves as lonely or alone, right? There was some point in that story where a person experienced shame, where that person experienced stigma, and where that person was taught that silence was the best way to handle all of that, right? And in those processes, people disconnect, right? They become isolated in whatever it is that they are holding. And there, for me, lies the problem, right? Because the idea that we are alone in an experience that we are all sharing in our collective humanity in a world that is occupied by billions of people.
Right.
Just the idea that we are alone in this place in itself is a lie. So we get curious about what is it that convinces folks to believe that, and where are those messages coming from, and how do we disrupt that?
Okay. Wow. I got you. So I want to do something right now. You know, the topic that we're discussing is heavy. I'm gonna break up the heaviness real quick, not taking away from the importance of the topic.
We welcome joy at all times.
Okay, great. I'm looking at the hoodie you got on. I see Agency, man. Hey. Look, we're gonna get back to the topic, but we gotta, hey, the brother, I saw the Agency.
Yeah.
So tell us about we're gonna get into Agency 51, we're gonna get into Darrik Bleux, the social workers, Instagram. We're gonna get into some other topic, another web landing page. But tell us about that merch right here, because some people may like the merch.
Yeah. This is the official 515 hoodie swag. It has the logo on it. Talks about arm, got the social workers on its hat. Kind of try to keep people fresh. I'm addicted to hoodies. So if you know me, I probably wear a hoodie every single day. So I love hoodies. So folks can hit us up on Instagram for how to get their own. We have this one and a couple of other versions. But yeah, we like to give people opportunity to rep the set. Social education is where we at. Trying to get as many people to join the movement, right? We're on a mission to help young people and their communities reclaim voice, power, and possibility for themselves, right? And so we're just trying to create as many spaces and activate as many voices as possible for hope and healing. And we invite anybody to join us along that. We're going, and even though, like you said, the issue itself, right, the idea of suicide and often the experiences that bring us there are painful and heavy. We like to remind people that there is joy in healing, right? And there's so much freedom and liberation and so much happiness that comes from an opportunity to be able to name your pain, and find places to put it that are safe and healthy and help you build possibility. So we party all the time. It's theater, it's fun. We play games, we do music, we dance, we perform. We spend a lot of time eating food with community and having honest dialogue, hugging on people. It's what we do. So even though sometimes it is hard to have conversations that are uncomfortable or that brush up against things that are real for us. In order to heal, you got to deal with what's real, right? So at Agency 515, we're just trying to have real conversations in real ways that give people real solutions.
Okay, gotcha. I want to lay that out there. It's getting kind of thick, man. So I wanted to break it up.
No, appreciate it.
Because hey, man, although suicide and suicide prevention is a heavy topic, hear what I'm saying now.
Mm-hmm.
Your organization has made talking about suicide something that's possible, and I don't want to use the word cool because that's not; those two don't go together. But you have destigmatized. Well, you're on a mission, in my opinion, of destigmatizing suicide prevention, and what leads up to those suicide happening and suicide prevention even becoming a major thing. So I bring up the merch because you got people like flash and style, and you showing that there is creativity around a topic that can be so heart-wrenching, and it has been so heart-wrenching.
And we love that. And we love, and again, and I think that's the beauty of art, right? You find healing in all places, right? There's healing in fashion, right? People put their look together to feel good, right? People do their hair to feel good, right? That's so we like to highlight all of those things in our healing spaces. So we encourage people, get your look together. You can get your hair did, get right, feel your best self, right? And we're gonna give you as many opportunities to get loved on and affirm joy within, and it's important. And also I'm just a person in life who's committed to authenticity. And I grew up in a hood where I had teachers and people, a lot of folks that didn't look like me, both in skin tone and swag. A lot of suits, and a lot of people telling me that I wasn't never gonna be nothing or go nowhere. And I believe in showing kids like me that come from hoods that I grew up in that you can 100% be a boss and be yourself. You know what I mean? So I teach in my hoodie when I go to class, and I wear my Nike slides sometimes on casual days. And I believe that, when I work in the space with, Kiana and some other folks that are LCSWs and professors and doctors. And I really love humanizing those people, because we think also that you talk about going to, access traditional services, when you think about a therapist, or you think about, a mentor or a coach or anything clinical like that, that too has a stigma. It has a stereotype of what you think that looks like, or what you think that the experience is going to be. But there are so many dope ass Black and brown therapists, right? There are so many like dope healers and dope educators and dope people that are out here that look like us, that dress like us, that act just like us, that dance and sing and rap and paint and do all the things that we love to do.
Right.
But they just utilize those as, for the purpose of healing and educating and offering support to people that need it. And so for folks that are out there thinking that, therapy or healing processes, might not be for them, I encourage you to like expand your perspective on what that could be and do some research and spend some time on identifying, a supportive pathway and a supportive person in your life that most connects with you. Because I guarantee you that there's somebody in the role that you need that got what you want. You know what I mean?
Okay, that's right. That's right. And like I said, I want to bring up that artistic, the bring up the clothes. I'm gonna just keep it simple. I want to bring up the clothes to show that you humanizing the space, man. That is not popular to talk about, and because it's not popular to talk about, that doesn't mean that people don't run into situations in their life where they are going to want to commit to this thing or this action. Because you actually have to. I hear this term, committing suicide.
Right.
So you actually commit to this. You commit. I don't know if it's a way of life, lifestyle. A lot of times, it's a one act, and that one act is in. Go ahead.
And if I may, I think we're also doing a lot of work to maybe recondition people's language around that. So we try to encourage people even not to say the phrase commit suicide anymore, right? Because when we say the word commit, it often carries a connotation of like crime, or like a person did something bad, or like they made a decision.
Wow.
So people use the word commit suicide in a way to shame people. And I think even when you hear it, right, when you hear the idea that someone committed suicide, your first question is, well, what's wrong? Why would they do that? All of these, all of these questions that come to mind that shame a person's choice or intention. And so we try to use more compassionate language. And like in the media and things right now, they teach us to say that a person died by suicide. And that sort of proper way to name that. But yes, what you're speaking to, or the idea of committing to a choice, right? I think yes. Whenever there is a suicide that happens, yes, a person does arrive at a point of decision, and even that. We like to interrogate. We like to get curious about what that means to arrive at a point of decision when the conditions for your care, the conditions for your healing, the conditions for your life haven't been properly set. Is it really your choice? And so we try to get in there and get to root causes and really help people understand how to separate who they are from what's happened to them, and get creative about how they want to move forward.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you once again, because the way I'm talking about this topic, a person has the potential to say that a person such as myself, and I'm just gonna put myself as a type, just typecast me. Just somebody can say that person is insensitive, and I'm not trying to be insensitive. I'm talking in the manner of which, the way I think about this term suicide. Because I haven't been educated in it. I've seen it. I've known of people, and I've known people who have died by suicide. Yeah, died by suicide. And some people I knew well, and some people I didn't. And I didn't know how to talk. I didn't know how to. You gotta kind of beat around it, because you don't want to jump right in and say the wrong thing, because it's such a tense topic. So the way I'm talking is not meant to harm anybody. I have Brother Khalil Blue on here today, and I'm talking in this manner so that he can correct me as the character, but also those who choose to watch this broadcast will understand that there's a alternative language to use when
Yeah.
talking about suicide.
And in theater has a principle that we use called yes and, right? So the idea behind a yes and is that you accept what is and the possibility of it being something more. So I'm gonna invite a yes and framework into this moment, right? So yes, what you're saying is true, and I think it's important to note that like my sharing in how language is developing around this issue is not meant to correct you, right? It's meant to support and
Okay.
contribute. And I think, and the thing that but I love what you're saying, because so often in our relationships and in our efforts to communicate with one another, we bump up against that exact uncomfortable space, right? Language is such a powerful thing, which is why I do literary art. Right? I think that language is the single most powerful art form that exists. Everything in our world is constructed by language. Our very country, our constitution is just words on page, right? And so I think that we're not always mindful or as aware of the power of our words, right? So sometimes we say things or we speak things in our nature, things that are natural without any harmful intention, and yet people understand us in the ways that they best can. And so I think and that is the reason why we hold the kind of space that we hold at Agency 515, to get people talking as much as they can so that we can all understand language, the art of language, in the way that we all utilize it, right? Because so many people don't speak because they're afraid of being misunderstood, right? So many people hold their tongue. So many people don't share what's true for them. So many people are robbed of opportunities to learn because when they do try and say the wrong thing, sometimes they're not always held or received with care and love. And we're trying to, as much as possible, remove the shame, the guilt, and the harm out of learning environments, because we all got to try. We all got to bring what we have to the table and contribute to collective wisdom in order for us to find collective solutions to things that we're all navigating in our own individuality, right? Because the issue of suicide and mental health and how people are hurting and how people are coping and living with that hurt will be different in everybody's lived experience. And if there's no container, if there's no opportunity for folks to just speak naturally about what's real for them, how are we ever expected to hear how the issue really exists, how it really lives, how it really shows up in people, what questions people really have, and what it is, how and what ways can we really support their learning if they're not afforded opportunities to speak authentically. And I think that's just something that we got to hold space for. And because I believe in holding systems accountable for their work as well, we also got to hold compassion for the fact that a lot of that language, is withheld and used as a device. So not everybody is invited to learn, when language updates in systems. They don't always pass the down to the hood, you know what I mean? They don't always, we're not always in the group chat. So
that's right. The private chat, the private Facebook groups. That's
absolutely
right.
That's why we got to have conversations amongst ourselves, and we got to create spaces where we could talk how we talk and write how we write and sing how we sing and act the way that we act, and understand that this too is a key component of healing. Like who we are, how we show up, what we're holding, what we vision, is all a part of the process. And even more so for people of color, right? We gotta get it the way we live it. So we gotta talk to people that understand our lived experience, that understand our lived language, and get around our folks and be able to have real conversations. So I'm really, really all about that. Is my long-winded response. So I'm sorry.
Okay. No problem, man. That long-winded response is good because you're using language that is appropriate for the conversation. Because sometimes you can be in a space where you don't know the appropriate phraseology, and you're talking about how you feel, and some people are in the back cringing just at the sight of you speaking because what you're saying hurt them. So
and it's not like people don't notice that, right? So it's like if how people respond to that 100% affects how you will take in the learning or the correction, if we will, and also it can also dictate whether or not you ever ask another question out loud in a space again. And the point, and I think we got to get out of the habit of this idea that we just universally accept that hurt people, and that's okay. It's like it doesn't have to be that way. And there are a lot of different things that we can do with our hurt other than projecting on others. And I'm all about developing those practices.
Okay, good, man. And we need you doing them too. So we need you developing those practices. And I'm going into a practice that we discussed earlier. Q Institute. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the QPR Institute in the background. So I'm going to share my screen. I don't think if you're getting paid now, let me know what's up and drop me a few dollars and be like, look, this guy on the show last night. But I'm just just put it in the background so people will know. So I'm putting in the background so people will know that what you're talking about is legitimate.
Yeah, right. So you're right. Got to have receipts these days.
Yep, it should be. You gotta have your receipts. You gotta have them because you don't have your receipts. They be like, "Well, I heard him talking about this. He didn't have any type of documentation to back it up."
The brother just got on there.
I don't know what's going on. Yeah, right. Man, you are crazy, but that's exactly what it would sound like. In the back, I shouldn't be asking you if you see it or what's going on, but it's supposed to be.
Oh, I can't see it, but hopefully the people can.
QPR Institute.
But I can go ahead and spell it out for folks while we wait for the graphic. So QPR is an acronym for question, persuade.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And question, persuade, refer is a 3-step mental health intervention method that teaches people how to recognize the warning signs that someone may be contemplating suicide, how to ask that person the right questions, and then refer that person to the right resources for support. So it is it's a basic skill sort of intervention method, certification process that we go through that is similar to CPR, right? If anybody's ever had to be CPR certified for work ever, what we say in the QPR field is that what CPR does for the heart, QPR does for the mind. So the framework, I love it, is meant to equip everyday people with the skills to help save someone's life. And so I am certified. I got to take this moment to shout out to the San Diego Suicide Prevention Council, who is my home base, and the Health and Human Services Agency, who I acquired my training through in partnership with the QPR Institute. But this is an international resource, right? So a lot of people may not be aware that QPR exists or that it is an available resource in their county. So if you have not ever taken the QPR training, I highly recommend it for folks. If you where I'm at, or if you're willing to fly us out, we love to provide them and hold space. But definitely look into anybody that is offering it in your region. And if you are a person, I always advocate, if you are a person that works in the company of young people, or in the field of care at all, and your organization is not requiring QPR as a part of your professional training, I recommend that you advocate for that immediately, because it is something that every single person should know how to do. So many of us lose an opportunity to support a person with this issue because when they share their truth with us, we don't know what to say, right? We don't know how to help, where to connect them to, what to do with it. And QPR is designed to teach us exactly that. And so in our space, we take this technical training and we layer in creative components that help people process and practice the information, as well as getting certified in the skills. So I'm a huge, huge advocate for it. And I encourage folks to look into it. And if you're down, book a training through us. You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you back.
Okay, gotcha. I don't know. Yeah, so I'm sorry about that. I hit the mute button.
Technology,
So
man.
sure, we did a deep dive in. Yeah, that's right. Shoot, that's oh yeah. Okay, all right, I'm back at it. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm sure we did a deep dive. We could find the different instructors across the nation,
Right.
but we won't do that today. We don't have permission to do that from the QPR Institute. But
Yes.
so the one last question about QPR Institute. What had training? If you could just give us like a brief synopsis of what the training, what did the training entail?
Yeah, so we go through basically the question per se refer windows. So we teach a lot about cues and warning signs. We try to dispel any like myths or facts around suicide. We build some awareness sharing, where the issue is, like statistical need to know information, and then we teach people basically how to recognize the warning signs, teach them ways in which to ask the questions, and then offer them tools, resources to refer people to the right resources for support. So the training itself can be tailored in different ways, but the technical, it takes about maybe 1 to 3 hours to go through to learn the technical framework and build some practice around it. And then we send folks with some takeaways, hotline numbers, reminder cards, things that they can have on hand at all time to utilize should they ever need to use the skills.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so I'm going to share another screen, and this screen is Mr. Blue's personal Instagram page. Now,
Shout
I need to get an Instagram.
out.
People been telling me the Instagram for 6 months, 10 months, to a year, 2 years. So I had to go to Google and type it in. So I won't be able to go into his Instagram account, but
Hey,
I
I know that
can
guy.
show the Instagram. So this is Mr. Blue's Instagram account, KBLEUX. I'm spelling it like you can't do it yourself. I'm sorry, man. Please forgive
No,
me.
you good. No, it's great.
Yeah.
No, so yeah, definitely follow me. Hit me up on Instagram at KBlue. This is my direct page, and probably with a hub center where you can find me on all the other platforms, as you can see, are listed in my bio. So yeah, there, follow me there. I usually have information about where we are in the community doing work, any offerings and things that we have coming up, and yeah, and then also just following my personal artistry and wherever I'm performing or facilitating and speaking.
Okay, gotcha. So he got
Yeah,
so I'm gonna pull up his other Instagram for the company that he works, that he created. I was about to say work for. When you create a company, you work for it.
yeah, I
So
work out there.
he
I'm
works for
definitely working on that. Definitely working for
it.
it.
Because if you don't work for it, they company gonna be like, man, I can't fool with you no more.
Really,
So
they
let
didn't
me
really
hold
tell me
on.
that part in the beginning. You know.
They don't tell you. They say, man, get your business license and go and sit on the beach.
Yeah, and then you got to
And you
use
like,
it, but
man, what the beach
you
is?
got to
Ain't
work.
it? So I'm pulling up the social workers. Should be hopefully showed up
Yeah,
in the background.
shout out, yeah.
Great. This is
So,
the social workers. This is the other Instagram account. You want to talk about this one?
yeah, so the social workers is the name of the collective that I founded a few years ago. So I work with an incredible, crazy dope team of artists, educators, activists that specialize in different art forms, and we work together to create spaces for healing and connection. And the social workers pretty much design all of the programs and lead and facilitate all the workshops for the organization. So if you looking for a training or anything like that, we send one of the social workers out, and typically we like to show up in a group. So you'll be meeting
Mhm.
us. Shout out to the fam. Follow us there. That can let us know how to get connected to us or how to bring us into your school or anything that any ways that we can be of service or support to you.
Okay, gotcha. So we are gonna have Mr. Blue back on the show. We've been going for 50 minutes. I told him, man, I'm gonna
Yeah,
have you
man,
on
our
for
time
30
be
minutes.
flying.
Man, look, I lied. Look. I told him 30 minutes. I wanted to stick to it, but when he got to 30, I was like, he was in the middle of a conversation. I don't want to cut nobody off. That's
Yeah, no,
disrespectful.
man. You got to look. I'll be talking.
Right, I got you. Wait, but we definitely enjoying the what you putting down, man, because it's very useful to the Robaer report. And so this last, so we're gonna have you back on the show. If you're available, we'll do it next week as well,
Yeah, I'll
because
see
there
you.
are areas that what do you say?
I said, yeah, I'll see you next week for sure.
Ooh. So there are areas that we discussed in our preliminary conversation that did sort of a deep dive into these surface level, well, I won't say surface level, but top layer conversations that we had today. So I'll finish on today. You have a company, you're a 501c3 agency 515,
Yeah.
and we talked about that in the very beginning. So I'll just lay these questions down.
Okay.
What does 515 mean? Define it as a palindrome and in regard to numerology. And if
Okay.
you open to it, only be open to it. Discuss what 5-1 means on a personal level for family, or in regards to your
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. So 515 is symbolic of a lot of things in my life. I'm really fascinated by palindromes, which, if you're not familiar with palindromes, those are numbers and words, are systems that can be read the same word backwards and forwards. So it really speaks to our passion and our core purpose for creating transparency and clarity across the table. And For me, that is a caveat to safety, right? If we bring folks together, and promote transparency between the two, transformation from that place is born. 515 numerically itself is also a number that represents encouragement and liberation. It says that we as people have the power to create our worlds using our own feelings and thoughts, which is something that I really believe in, and a belief system that I share with people on how to develop and stand in their own agency, which is what all of our work is there to help people build within themselves, how to hold choice and how to make decisions that are best for them, and find places they belong. And that number is also representative of the day that I lost my mother to this issue. Mental health has been something that has shown up in my family my entire life, and we haven't always had the practice or the language of calling it by name, right? And so that day was the day that I made the decision to dedicate my life to this work, and to activate as many spaces as possible for people to utilize their voice and find hope in abundance, endless resource. So 515 is really that number that we're using to promote hope right now. So
Wow.
wear it on our chest proudly. Get your swag and join the movement.
That's right. That's right. Well, man, I tell you what, I appreciate you so much for coming on today, for shedding some light on this sensitive topic in our contemporary society, and just for I appreciate meeting you. Over Zoom. Well, not over Zoom, over StreamYard. Shout out to the StreamYard team. Shout out to the Black USA team. Shout out to Donnie for continually bringing this platform to the fore for all of our hosts on the network to use to get their individual messages out and to talk to individuals that they interview so that those people can get their messages out. Once again, this is the Robaer Report coming at you on Monday nights. We got a little late start today, but as you can see, this was a very good interview. Mr. Khalil, any words of encouragement that you want to leave us on, or any final thoughts before we close out for today?
Yeah, absolutely. I like you said, we talked a lot about a sensitive issue, suicide, and I just want to share for anybody that can hear our voices today, that if suicide this issue is coming up for you, or you're impacted in any way, if you or someone you know is in need of support, please know that you are loved, that you are seen, that you are heard, that you are cared for, that you are not alone, and that there is support for you available. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline number is 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-TALK. Please reach out for support. It is there. Someone will be there to listen. And if phone calls are difficult for you, and you're in the state of Maryland, you can text MD Mind Health to 898-211, and they will get you access to supports in your local area. Stay here, stay connected.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So until next time, this is the Robaer Report, where we have talks with individuals to discuss their contribution to society. Today we have I'm gonna call them the famous. I don't know if he sees us famous. I don't know if we got that yet.
Speaking soon.
Speaking soon, right? We got our brother Darrik Bleux on here speaking his truth. And we're gonna get him back on the show soon, hopefully next week, and may have to get him on because we have to dissect this. It's an interest of mine to dissect this topic. So Beautiful. Thank you all so much, and until next time, peace. Have a good weekend. Have a good week. Then have a good weekend. Then come back to the Robaer Report. I take care of you all.
See y'all next time. Thank you.